Yesterday we found out that Ender Dragons goes live on the 28th of February. Yes, it is almost here, and that date was revealed in a brand spanking new pre-launch trailer, which we are going to break down in this video right here. I want to see what tidbits of lore, locations and characters we can glean, and engage in some wild speculation about the story going forward. So there are going to be story spoilers ahead. I'm going to talk about the new characters and all the devs have told us about them so far, and if any of my wild speculation is accurate, I could really ruin your day, so you have been warned. Also, if you have not sat back and enjoyed this trailer, there are links below. My breakdown is not a pleasing format for that kind of viewing enjoyment. I'm going to be stopping and starting, so yeah, do that first and then please come back and we're going to break this bad boy down. So let's tarry not and dive into the opening scene. Front and centre is a fisherman dressed in what looks like traditional Canthan commoner's attire on a skiff. It's not the fancy super duper one that we get with Ender Dragons Deluxe version. It is a skiff we've seen before here in previous live streams. So this is the Ford of Skiffs. It's fine, it looks good, I'm happy he's fishing. I'm looking forward to fishing right across Tyria. And looking at the scenery, I think this is Xinji Island. That turquoise of the water, the beautiful pink sakura cherry blossom, and the cliffs. I think we're in Xinji, but let's roll the tape on and see what happens. So next we have custom animation. They really upped their animation game with the scene between Ruinbringer and Ritlock, and they're just carrying it on here, and I'm here for it. Okay, and boom, oh goodness, well, someone's not having a good day as they careen inland. And I think first of all, a couple of questions. Why are the Aetherblades here in Cantha? What is Mytrin up to? And who just fired on the ship? Are we the player character following Mytrin, saying the glory of Tyria, firing on her before she attacks Cantha? Has the Canthan forces, either the Imperial forces or one of the gangs, like the Jade Brotherhood, are they firing on the ship? Let me know in the comments your theory as to who just blew up that Aetherblade ship. And we also see another Aetherblade ship here, and later on in the trailer we're going to see a whole armada of them. So this is a mass movement of Aetherblades into Cantha. And then the camera tracks this beautiful ship as it goes down, careening inland, and we get a glimpse of a wall. Atop it, a pagoda-like structure. So we have seen this place before. It is indeed Xinji Island. Many of the live streams have featured this, possibly the monastery area, but let's harken back to the days of the faction campaign, when this island was home to Xinji Monastery, a hub of learning. In fact, this was the starting location for players making a new character in factions. So there's a nice symmetry with the old campaign and our very first foray, it would seem, into Cantha being Xinji again, which I love. Now, originally the monastery was situated in a cove on the coast, so we could well be looking at the oceanic entrance to the monastery, beautiful and grand as it is. A bit of an overview of the island, and please forgive the air traffic control happening in my audio. So up the coast a bit is Sutang Harbour, forgive me for the pronunciation, which was a trading post and main point of access to Cantha for foreign traders and adventurers alike. To the far east was Zen Daijun, a place of holy pilgrimage guarded by Sun Ra, a Kirin. So what's a Kirin? Well, we see one a bit later on in the trailer. The Kirin were spiritual protectors, monks in animal form, and they look like, well, this, an aquatic-y type horse. In the northwest of the island was the Rammasuk Gardens, once a retreat and or playground for the Imperial family and their courtiers. The island was managed, administrated from the ministerial estate found in the highlands in, again, the northeast, quite close to Rammasuk, actually. Large swathes of the southwest of the island were given over to agriculture, and the Tsumi village was home to the commoners who worked the lands there. Xinji was also an ancestral nesting ground for the Tengu and home to one of its more zealot factions. I think it's safe to say that the monastery has survived the reimagining of Cantha. The rest of it, however, the gardens, the shrine, yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. But now we have an overview of this beautiful island. So let's press the play button, and now we see the Imperial throne room and Empress Xian. Empress Xian, to be specific, sat upon it looking, I have to say, mightily impressive indeed. The seat of Imperial power in Kantha is flanked by 2 great jade waves, inside one of which is a fish. And that looks very much to me like the Zephyrite fish, the one that's available for guild hall decoration. The throne sits atop a dais of solid jade, perhaps a visual representation of the power of the Empire being driven from the jade that once crippled it. There is also wildflowers growing about the chamber, which could indicate the rewilding of the Jade Sea, or it could show that Empress Xian values the natural ecology of Kantha as much as she venerates the dragon jade, which has given rise to great prosperity in her lands. Or she could just like flowers. It is entirely possible. To the right of the screen, we see 2 characters in conversation, June and Minister Li. June, seen here in earlier trailers, is the mind behind the Dragon Jade industrial revolution that has swept across Kantha, changing the face of this ancient nation. She is a gifted inventor and shrewd businesswoman. We have also been told by writers, and major spoiler here, that she is the illegitimate daughter of the previous emperor, and therefore the half-sister of Empress Xian. Raised by a single mother in, I'm going to say extremely modest, but you can imagine poverty, she has risen to power and prominence by virtue of the sheer brilliance of her mind and bloody-minded determination and hard work. The power dynamic between her and her half-sister will play out over the events of End of Dragons, or so say the writers. Minister Li is the head of Ministry Security, which was formerly known as the Ministry of Flame. In the days of faction, Flame oversaw law enforcement and the judicial system and incarceration of criminals. The writers describe Minister Li as a traditionalist who finds himself often in direct opposition to June and the changes her technology has brought. And good news for us, he has a deep, abiding suspicion for outsiders. We should not expect a warm welcome in Kantha. Now casting my eye about the rest of the throne room, and it looks like the other characters present are just courtiers, stage dressing, if you will.
Ambassador's dispatch. Queen's eyes only.
That is the voice of Casimir Mead, and it is clear she is acting as ambassador to Krytan, to the crown, to Queen Janice specifically. Now we might question why these missives must go directly to the Queen, but she is an absolute ruler and has been betrayed countless times by the ministry, so it could simply be court intrigue. Now the character walking beside Casimir, I think, is a representation of the player character who we see later on in the trailer. Let me know if you agree in the comments below. So Kaz and the player character are flanked by Imperial guards, but we're not in handcuffs, so it looks to me like we have either requested an audience with Empress Xian, or we have been summoned by Her Imperial Highness, and she does not look happy to see us, to say the least. Wow. And we get a closer look at the Empress and her throne. There are twin jade dragons on the crest of the throne, each with a pearl in its mouth. There are ancient folktales, specifically a Chinese one I'm thinking of, where a young boy becomes a dragon by swallowing a magical pearl, but I think here these dragons may simply be the motif of the Imperial House. Kantha was once called the Dragon Empire and is said to be the original homeland of all dragons. And looking back at Kanthan history, sea spray dragons have played a vital role in the story of factions. The Empress is dressed in white and gold with dragon polders and a dragon pin in her hair. Now this pin dragon is holding a jade sphere in its mouth. Again, this could represent the wisdom or the magic of Kanthan's jade being harnessed by the imperial ruler. In Japanese culture, the emperor would wear white whilst performing Shinto rituals, and white was considered a sacred color of the gods. However, also in Asian cultures, white is worn when in mourning, and in all honesty, we don't know how long Empress Xian has reigned, so she could be observing some formal period of mourning for the previous emperor. Now Xian's beautiful, extraordinary hairstyle, its shape and decoration are a recreation of the traditional Korean Joseon dynasty styles. and her tiny winged crown puts me in mind of the winged statues present in the Chamber of Ascension. You see, traditionally, emperors of Kantha have undergone the rite of Wei-no-Su, marking them as an ascended being. Being Wei-no-Su allows one to see the spirits of the dead, even if they are hidden from mortal eyes, as well as being capable of entering the realm of the gods. But we will have to wait and see if this tradition has been upheld.
The Empire of Kantha is not what we remember. They are the most powerful nation on Tyria, thanks to their jade tech.
Now we cut to a beautiful portrait of the Empress. But I am not convinced this is Xian. The face is softer, the hair ornamentation is white instead of gold. This could well be Xian's mother. June is looking at that portrait intensely, perhaps in resentment, as she and her mother were shunned and left to live in poverty by the Emperor, whilst Xian and her mother were venerated, protected and exalted to the throne. As Cass says the word tech, a jade golem crosses the screen and transitions us to a factory or laboratory, the one that we saw in the last teaser trailer. This time, however, we see many jade constructs, many and varied, as well as these towering jade cores. Now, June's position in these two shots is almost identical, and I think it gives a nice juxtaposition. In one location in the palace, she is overshadowed by her father's betrayal. In the Jade laboratory, she is the master of all she surveys. It's the two worlds that she straddles, I think, represented here. The towering jade cores remind me too of the towering columns of human batteries seen in the Matrix. There was something sinister about the jade, almost foreboding for me. I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe it's the swirling darkness in there, at least to my eye. Let me know if you agree in the comments. And I think I see some neon script in the background of the shot. It could be an evolution of old Kanthan. If I do crack the code, I'll post the results in the community section. Anyway, Cass's final words before leaving are...
And they don't trust us. We have to show them that we're on their side.
Now, this distrust could simply be due to Kantha's isolationist history and tendencies, but we could have genuinely done something to make them question our motives, and that could be why we were summoned or requested an audience with the Empress. It could be related to the Airship Battle and the crash in the opening scene. There could be a miscommunication. The Empire could think that we are attacking them. They may not differentiate between Aetherblade and Krytan. Could the Aetherblades have attacked Xinji, causing a diplomatic incident we must now resolve? Time will tell, but I don't think we can remove any of these options from the table just yet. The next shot is a stunner, a massive jade obelisk towering over more traditional diminutive Kanthan architecture, literally dwarfing it. There is a clash here that I see of old and new, and a strange, uneasy coexistence between the two. Are we still in Xinji? Have we travelled to the port of Kayang? Or are we looking at the entrance of a huge jade quarry? Those colossal, unadorned walls could be defensive for sure, but I have seen something like this, and on screen we're looking at images from the previous livestream of this general location. Here we see a little shoal of neon fish sparkling through the air near the top of the construction. Those walkways to the platforms move, powered by what look like jade jet engines. Maybe it's used to move massive chunks of jade that's been quarried. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. The scene changes again and we are in a wild landscape, and this could well be the northwest region of Xinji. And we see for the first time the new Jade bots in action, and these abilities are what we are going to be unlocking with the Jade Tech Mastery. Here we see the little bots offering artificial updrafts whilst gliding. It's super handy utility to have. And here we see the little chap assisting a downed player, and the bot can also be seen aiding us in the use of more novel map traversal mechanisms too. The devs did point out the vast scale of the new Kantha maps, specifically their incredible verticality, showcased here quite well. Let me know your thoughts on these little bots that could. Do you like what you see? Let's roll the tape on. So I'm completely in love with these neon sky whales and the whole cyberpunk aesthetic of this district, and lots of the art that they brought out. It is beautiful. I'm here for it. Dune's Dragon Jade technology has been integrated so deeply into their society, especially the kind of urban high population centers. And honestly, I can't wait to get a look at Kayang City. Now, we could well be seeing the city in these shots in the trailer, but honestly, nothing is screaming Imperial City to me right now. And here we are switching up features, leaving the bot behind, heading to the new Guild Hall map, which is the Isle of Reflection located on Xinji Island. Personally, I can't wait to claim this Guild Hall. It is beautiful. There is fishing in here. There's probably going to be specific fish only available in this Guild Hall. And with the changing of guild acquisition and better scaling, even the smallest guilds are going to be able to claim their own guild hall and enjoy hours and hours of guild decoration and building up the internal structures, always hoping that they're going to expand on guild features and guild missions and the guild hall. Fingers crossed, it's a pastime that I get lost for hours in. The scene changes again to a montage of new map locations. So first up is Ekoval and the ruined Gothic palaces of the Kurzik center stage here. It's always kind of heartbreaking to see the palaces, these beautiful structures blended with petrified wood in the wake of the Jade Wind, which decimated the entire ecosystem of this area. And here's another shot of that same district with the sky whale a moment before in the bots, and the ornateness shown in this one scene. This is a profoundly wealthy society, and they live cheek by jowl with the jade golems, with June's creations, and I think that June is likely venerated almost, if not as much, as the Empress herself, and that could have some interesting ramifications for both women.
The Aetherblades are back. Now they're planning something big in Kantha. If we don't stop them, they'll plunge Tyria into war.
Then we veer back into the story. It looks like we're back on Xinji Island to that badly damaged airship we saw in the opening scene. And wow, well, that prow is Fuba and there's still smoke billowing out of its starboard side. These Sky Pirate Aetherblades have constructed a scaffolding to repair the ship. Well, it's not really their ship, is it? It's a packed ship that they stole and that Scarlet Briar retrofitted with Aether portal technology and all manner of terrifying weaponry. Anyway, I don't see any Kanthans helping them. It seems to me that this merry band of pirates have claimed a little slice of Xinji for themselves, at least until they can repair their ship and rendezvous with the fleet. Spoilers ahead if you don't want to know about this character. This is Matron's first mate, Anka. To my understanding, she was in quest and a colleague of Gorick, in fact, perhaps even someone he considered a friend, although that is, speculative headcanon on my part. The writers tell us that she loathes the player character. Hooray. She has unfortunately lived through the misery wrought by unchecked power, and she's not just thinking of the dragons. She sees the suffering we have caused with our endless wars against the dragons, against Joko, against the White Mantle, and she thinks that we are no better than those we oppose. We are directly in her crosshairs. Anka is standing in front of an ancient Kurzik leaded window, and the Ekoval Wilds are just that. A wilderness, a sparsely populated wilderness where, say, an army of Aetherblades could set up their base of operations unnoticed. And the scene shifts and we see Maitrin and talk of war, an armada of Aetherblade ships. Will the Empress of Kantha be able to differentiate between Aetherblades and Kanthan diplomats? We will have to see. And right now, in this moment in the trailer, they look like they are re-entering the mist. You see the stars here? This looks like a normal sky, but ahead there is nothing but golden clouds lanced with magic. The Aetherblades during Scarlet's War launched countless surprise attacks, utilizing the mists. They would appear, wreak havoc, and then vanish again before any real counter-attack could be launched against them. Matrin is their leader, has been since the beginning. The Aetherblades and her have been hiding in the mists. She has been hiding there probably since her escape from a Lion Guard prison. And it looks like she has been busy all these years, recruiting, rebuilding her forces after they were crushed when Lion's Arch was retaken. Is Matrin seeking revenge against the player character for our role in the death of her once first mate Horik, and perhaps her forced exile in the mist, or does she share Anka's belief that the world would be far safer if we, the player character, were dead or brought low, or if the great powers of Tyria were to annihilate each other, leveling the playing field, opening up opportunities for a cunning pirate to pick over the corpses of two great nations. Now it's worth noting that Matrin is of Canthan descent, and perhaps she has even made allies here, maybe with the Jade Brotherhood, and together they could be plotting to overthrow Empress Xian and Queen Jenna both. And what a better way to achieve that end but by setting one against the other? Let me know your thoughts on Matrin's motives in the comments below. At this point, the trailer cycles through new elite specializations, so we see the engineer's machinist and the hulking Jade golems, the thief's new Spectre elite in Echoval, and here the virtuoso Mesmer elite, performed by the character that is stood at the side of Casimir in the Imperial throne room at the start of the trailer, and we also get a glimpse of a Kirin battling a Blade Sworn warrior on what looks like a Jade Sea map. And we shift again, showing off the Turtle Boys, the two-seater battle mount that is introduced with the expansion. These hulking beauties alone had me reaching for my debit card, and I honestly hope these jade-armed living tanks see some use in World v World. I would love to see a dedicated wildcard map thrown into the mix so that the players there can experience the fun of these and all the other mounts. I think if you protect their game of castles and have wildcard maps not affecting that, then you would get many World v World players jumping in to experiment, and perhaps even through their experimentation introduce new play types into the core game of World v World.
Everything Dragon's Watch has fought for, it all comes down to this.
I'm not sure Cass is talking about the conflict with the Aetherblades now. Dragon's Watch was formed to combat the rising of the Elder Dragons, so despite the B-roll of Matrin's strike mission playing in the background, I think the lion's share of the story we're going to play through in Ender Dragons is going to be about dragons. I think the hint is in the title, their draconic magics, their history, and the freeing of Tyria from the ravages of the corrupted cycle of the Dragon Risings. I don't think this is how the planet started. I think we are going to spend most of our time, most of the story, at least in the core game, outside of the living world, writing that balance or die trying. And I think there's a good possibility that we are going to lose our dragon daughter in one way or another at the end of this expansion. Now the trailer moves on to events and encounters, and the next shot is a very large sea monster. Maybe this is a dragon champion of the deep sea dragon, maybe an open world boss, maybe it's a fun new underwater strike mission which takes place in the belly of the beast. Let me know what you think about the sea monster. I'm naming him Frank in the comments below. This gargantuan jade construct looks very much like a strike mission or world boss or both. They do occasionally like to do that.
The secrets of Canva. The secrets of the dragons. We have to uncover them all before it's too late.
Now we get the final story teaser with Cass, Jury, Gorick, Taimi and Kaith, all gaping in utter horror at a vortex of magic. The gentleman entering at the back, spoilers ahead, you have been warned, I think is Detective Rama. So here's what we've been told. Detective Rama works for Minister Lee and they have a strong, almost father-son relationship, mentor-mentee. Now Cass has told us that there are mysteries to be solved for Cantha and the dragons both, And I think the back and forth between Juri and Rama, butting heads, these two detectives, I think it's going to be enormous fun. But in the final closing moments of the trailer, we are faced with this extraordinary spectacle. I think this is the massive jade obelisk we saw earlier in the trailer. So what did this? Now, there could have been some kind of accident, maybe even sabotage by the Jade Brotherhood. Perhaps the dragon magic in the Jade is not as stable as everyone believed. Or perhaps we are looking at the aftermath of an attack. Honestly, to my eyes, it looks like there has been a hole torn in the very fabric of reality. See the strands of black prismatic magic. What if something broke through from the mists to devour that draconic magic of the Jade Obelisk? There is a sound playing over the scene as well, a watery, mouthy kind of sound, which brings to my mind at least the deep sea dragon. Perhaps this is the shade of that nightmare creature. Let me know what you think below. What secrets do you think Cass is talking about? What will we discover in Cantha? What will we find out about the dragons? Let me know in the comments below. And whilst you are down there furiously typing, please do like this video if indeed you did like it. Subscribe for more Guild Wars End of Dragons content, and do show some love to Arthur, Wayu, Cody, Kildare, Cup, Molini, Jellydostar, Dark Griever, and all my wondrous, fantabulous Patreons, without whom I would be unable to dedicate the time and resources I do to my content creation. I can never thank you all enough. If you would like to support my channel, there are links to the Patreon page below, and if you feel inspired to jump into Guild Wars 2, there are referrals down there as well for the free-to-play game, the Path of Fire expansion, which includes all the content from the Heart of Thorns expansion, and you can pre-order the End of Dragons expansion down there as well. Using any of these referral links directly supports my channel, but costs you, my dear friend, not a penny more. But we have come to the end of the video, so until we meet again, please stay safe, stay awesome, and thank you so much for watching.